Hey Rockstars, I'm JB, expert salesperson and master presenter.
I'm the doctor, psychologist, and behavioral expert.
This is the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab podcast.
Yo, try, let's kick it on the one block, and we don't stop. Making records so people are cold, checking and respecting it because it rocks. The sales won't stop. Those are the doctor. And I'm the diggy doc, y'all. Pumping it, yes, y'all. DOC on the central, big kicking fresh, y'all. Letting the bass be going, flow with soul, so I can play. Leaving the rest of DJ Dr. Dre. It's the diggy doc, y'all.
That is right. It is the diggy doc, y'all, coming at you. I am flying solo today on this awesome episode. That's me flying solo. That means I get to do what I want. And what I wanted to do was start out with a theme song today. I've always wanted a theme song. I thought that was perfect. And that's what happens when you get to fly solo. You get to make the rules. So I'm making the rules today. JB is not with us. JB's been killing it all week. Gave him a day off. You know, we've had networking events all week, had some trainings. He has a very young baby at home with a wife and another son. So he needed a little time. I said, take it. I got you. I got your back, man. I'm here for you. And I got stuff to say. So that's what we're going to do today. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. You picked a very interesting episode to do that, but it's a great one nonetheless. I'm just one half of the dynamic duo of JB and the doctor. I am the doctor, and we are thankful that you are joining us today. If you are just joining us for the first time, please subscribe, like, get those notifications turned on, give us a 5-star rating, all those lovely things. If you're a returning listener, we really, really appreciate it. Or a returning watcher, because we don't know if you're watching us on YouTube maybe, or if you're listening to us on the podcast, or if you're doing both because you're that awesome. We truly, truly appreciate you. That theme song, does anyone know who sings that? That was the DOC. He was an amazing artist back in the late 80s, early 90s, way before my time, way before my time, as far as you know. But he was an amazing artist, killed it, had a great album, No One Can Do It Better, great songs on that album. That was The Doc and the Doctor, there was Getting Funky Enough, Lend Me an Ear, The Formula, so many good songs on that album. It was unfortunate that was the only album he was able to create. He was in an accident, lost his voice, was never performed the same way. But we do have that masterpiece. It was a great album. If you've never heard it, go back and check it out. It set a lot of tone for a lot of other rappers. Back in the day with Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Ice Cube, a lot of them came off of that. He wrote a lot of The Chronic. So great artist. And we'd love to bring back some of those amazing artists that just don't get talked about enough these days. He'll probably go down as one of the greatest rappers, even in that short period of time. It was such a creative album for that time. So that's our musical review for the day, which is why you come to this podcast, I'm sure. I also want to talk about another awesome celebration. If you know our former guest, Dr. Christiana Marron, a friend of the physical therapist, she's a big fan of hers. If you go back a few, probably I would say 4 months ago episodes, when she was on, time is irrelevant at this point, so it could be longer, it could be shorter. But we are celebrating her 7th anniversary of being cancer-free. So February 5th, which is yesterday, this comes out on the 6th. We would definitely want to celebrate that. She beat cancer. Incredible story. If you haven't heard that story, make sure you go back and listen to that episode where what she went through, the struggle, and the come up after that, and how hard she's working. Now she's changing other people's lives and making a big difference in them. So we definitely want to celebrate that. Go find her, give her some love. Amazing person. So celebrations. And while we're celebrating, just want to let you also know about an upcoming event that we got going on. If you are local in the Fort Lauderdale area, we are doing our IVOLVE Networking February 16th at the Wharf in Fort Lauderdale from 6 to 8 p.m. Make sure you just check out the show notes. We will send, or you can go onto any of our social media and get the link to RSVP. We're going to have a great time. If you've never networked with us, you know that we network with a twist. We always do something different to keep you on your toes. We have some great sponsors. It's going to be a lot of fun. So February 6th, Evolve Networking at the Wharf in Fort Lauderdale. Come check it out if you're in the area. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. So I have a good topic for today. We're going to go into in a little bit. We're going to talk about sacrifice and or trade-off. All right, but before that, I just want to see how everyone's doing on their Fresh Start February. If you missed last week's episode, which I hope you did, and if not, go back and check it out after this. We talked about Fresh Start February. We wanted to give everyone an opportunity to just get that fresh start. We know, as statistics say, as we talked about last week, that most people, they start their resolution strong in the beginning of the year and it lasts like 2 weeks. And then they kind of fade away. Some make it to 3. But generally, by the time we get into February, everyone's kind of gone off. Because remember, we think that goals are yay, resolutions are boo. And we think that for a reason. We think that because it's a resolution is just resolving to fail. There's no plan behind it. Goals are the way we strategize around it. But even sometimes with that, they're very hard if we're not used to doing them. We're trying to change a habit, a behavior, a routine a lot of times. And it's very challenging. And sometimes we lose that motivation pretty quickly. And we think, oh, I'm done. I can't do it. But that's why we think Fresh Start February is great, right? Like the idea around it doesn't even need to be February. We're just saying take the fresh start. It just happens to be February. It works out good. We like alliteration. A little bit of play on the words a little bit. Just take this time to get restarted. If you need some help with that, let us know. We'd be love to assist if we can. Send us a comment, shoot us a DM, throw some tips. Keep listening to what we're giving you, but we want to make sure that you guys are staying on track because our goal is for that consistency in 23. We want to make sure that we're really killing it all year. We know it takes time. It takes a lot of effort, but we can do it, and we can do it together. So we're going to do that consistency in 23. So let us know how you're doing. Just slide into the DMs. Love to hear from you guys. All right, so that brings on to the topic today of my quick hit solo episode. We're going to talk a little bit about that sacrifice. What do you mean, Doc? What are we sacrificing? I don't like the sacrifice. Really what we're talking about is a trade-off. So when we have something, there's a trade-off one way or the other, right? So if you don't like to follow your nutrition and you like to eat whatever you want and have no regard for that, you're probably not going to have six-pack abs. If you have six-pack abs, you probably have to be very strict on your diet, right? You can guess which one I'd go for. There's no right or wrong to either one of those. There's no, this is the way we're supposed to do it. It's just whatever works best for you. But there's a trade-off. You're giving up one for the other. Chances are you can't have both. There's probably a few of you out there that I don't like that can do that. But most of us, we can't. We have to be very strict on one side to give up something on the other side. And that's okay. It's what your choice is. Now, when we think about these trade-offs, there's many different examples. So, for example, it might be there's a new show on Netflix or HBO Max or Hulu or any of the ones that want to sponsor us out there that you might really enjoy. And you want to watch it. And you choose to watch it. So you might sacrifice some sleep that night, or you might sacrifice getting a little work done, or you might sacrifice some reading time. You're trading off to be able to do that. Others would say, I don't care about the show, but I want to get some extra exercise in that day, or go for a walk, or I'm going to go to bed a little earlier. That's fine too. They get to miss the show, right? So there's always this trade-off. We're giving something up for something else. Again, there's no right or wrong. Neither of these are correct. These are just your personal choices and what makes sense for you. So that's important to understand. We want to just make sure that we're knowing this is what works best for you. When we think about this, though, we get caught up very quickly in trying to do what everyone else does. We hear about you have to do it this way. I do this in my morning routine, so I have to make it work. So you have to do the exact same thing. And that's where we find that it just is not true. We're all individuals. We're all unique. We're all on our spectrum somewhere. So what one person does doesn't necessarily mean that's what we have to do. So just keep that in mind as you're creating these things, that there is no right or wrong for most of this. There's just really what works best for us. There's a give and a take. I'm sacrificing to get something else. And that's just my choice, no one else's. And that's okay. And that's what works best for me. There's a few caveats that I just want to make sure that we were mentioning, is we just want to make sure that it's not detrimental to ourselves and our health. So for example, if you want to binge a show because you really like the show, but now you're only getting 3 hours of sleep, you could probably get away with that one night. Probably shouldn't do it past that, right? For your own health. So we want to make sacrifices. We're not doing something that's detrimental to us. We do not want to get to the point where we're getting sick. We don't want to get to the point where we're jeopardizing our health or maybe missing stuff that's really important, right? You know, if you have rents due, you probably have to make sure you go to work or do something to make sure that we're paying rent, right? So there has to be, within our reasons, there's our sacrifice. So we just take those things into consideration. Is it detrimental? Am I obsessing over it? If not, then it's my choice and it's a good trade-off. So we can figure out most things are like that. Pretty much everything in our life has a trade-off one way or the other. And that's okay. And just remember, that's your personal choice, no one else's. You're not going to fit into everybody else's world. There is that sacrifice that has to come somewhere. Just make sure it's not detrimental or hazardous to your health, and we'll be all good. So as you think about things as you're going through them, what are you willing to give up for the other thing, which is more important to you? And that's how you can make some great decisions on what you should do next. And that doesn't mean it's a static choice. Just because you chose tonight to give up a little bit of work time to watch a show doesn't mean that you can't do the opposite the next night, right? That's the beauty of us, is we get to make our choice, and we can make that choice at the moment of what we're doing. Just know when in that moment, whatever you're doing, you're sacrificing that other thing. Otherwise, it can get off the rails pretty quickly if you don't take those things into consideration. All right, so that's my rant today about trade-offs, sacrifices, giving up. Just want to make sure that we're keeping things in perspective. Want to make sure that we're keeping ourselves healthy and finding that balance, because it's always important. And just know that we don't have to judge whatever we're doing against others. They make their choices that are best for them. We make our choices that's best for us. As long as we're being healthy and respectful, there's no reason why we all can't succeed. So that's what we want you to do. All right.